Hello, listeners. Welcome to season 2 of the Masters Decoded podcast. I am Manish Merchant, the chief decoder. I want to thank you for the overwhelming response to season 1. Your feedback and encouragement led me to bring you season 2 of the Masters Decoded. The season will tap into how technology, artificial intelligence, and other socioeconomic factors have impacted my guests' careers or passions. My next guest on today's episode is Dot Lung. Dot is a social media influencer and runs her digital agency based on her proprietary framework, the Dragon Formula. Her clients include Off Festival, Teachable, Wix, Sonar, Hard Rock Cafe, and Facebook. In addition to this, she imparts knowledge about brand building and to date has been able to help 80,000 plus individuals. Without much further ado, let me get on with it. Hi, Dot. Welcome to Masters Decoded podcast series. Really glad to have you.
Why, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here and sharing all of my hope wisdom with everyone that wants to hashtag learn with Dot.
Agreed. Learn with Dot and social media with Dot. And because I have been following you, and I actually came across you in one of the conferences, which was being arranged by Pat and many other industry stalwarts when it comes to media, and you were presenting there, and that's how I came about. And when I looked at your profile, I was pretty amazed on how, in short time, you've been able to garner so many social media followers for you and for your brands which you have worked with. Uh, but how did that journey begin? Did you really thought that you would be a social media influencer? You will build a career on this? How did this all get started?
Well, to be completely honest, no, I did not even know social media was a viable career path because I literally grew up with it. So
Okay.
I had Facebook since 2004, since it got started at the universities in the US,
Hmm.
and I used it to promote college parties.
Okay.
So I was a Facebook event user when it
Hmm.
first came out. I remember helping even my like employers at the time get their businesses to use Facebook and at that time MySpace.
Hmm.
And I don't know why I did it. It just was second nature to me because I just loved being on the social networks, and I felt that was a place that I could truly express who I was. Maybe because I'm really an introverted person in real life, and it took me like 30 years to become the more extroverted, outspoken person I am today. But
Hmm.
I started very, very introverted. And so being on social media was the only way for me to network and socialize and feel comfortable being myself. So I really gravitated to being able to express myself online. And that's why I just loved Facebook when it first came out. And I loved MySpace. And I was even on, you know, Zanga.
Hmm.
Um, Please don't try and look me up there, but those were that was like a really old blogging platform, and I
Yep.
never really did it to I mean, I wasn't even like a hardcore user because I was always mostly afraid of people um, finding out about me or
Okay.
putting who I really was on Zanga or really blogging my true feelings. I never, I don't know. I've been a very, very private person. So everything that I do post online is very curated.
Okay. Still, is it that still happening? That it is
Yeah,
very
I think
curated?
so. I'm a
Okay.
strategist at heart. So, I mean, I know what I'm doing. I've known, like, when I post something, it's very intentional. Um,
Okay.
and
Interesting.
it's for a purpose. It's to either, inspire or um, to make people think differently, and it has a purpose to why I'm doing these things, and just the things that I'm doing in my life. It's you know Gandhi said, "My life is my message." Well, that really
Yep.
spoke to me at a really young age, and so I try to do that. I try to live my life by example and do the things that I believe in, and share my life how how I think it will impact more people, to also, be brave and go for your dreams.
That's interesting. But somewhere today, social media does expose you. And how were you able to break that initial inertia which you had about keeping yourself private, not letting people find you, who you are? To break through that, that must have been a significant step for you personally, more than anything else.
Absolutely. You really you nailed it right there. It took me many years of courage, and I was never ready. I was
Hmm.
never ready to, expose myself, or um, and like I said, I'm a dragon. I'm a dinosaur in the game. I've been on Facebook for 15 years. Okay, like
Yeah.
I'm not an amateur, but I've only recently began to really brand myself and show my face in front of the work that I do, and that has only been since 2018. So that was like
Wow.
only 3 years ago where I launched a website. I never had a website. I never had a logo. I never took photos of myself or portraits, and as a matter of fact, I like was really triggered, and like um, I don't know, something just like rubbed me the wrong way when I see all of these Instagrammers posting like professional photos and travel
Yeah.
photos of themselves. Because you can look at my Instagram and go all the way back to 2011. Like I never posted a single image of myself. And that probably was due to, part insecurity and part just, afraid, just fear of
Yep.
people seeing me. And I think that was a really big, huge. I mean, I'm under exaggerating here, where I think um, it really stifled my growth. It really hindered me. It really set me back. I was never
Yep.
able to really, you know, just be comfortable with how I looked or how I expressed myself on video.
Hmm.
And it's so crazy to think that, because people know me for this person that's like, "Oh, I don't, I'm so brave, and I don't care what people think." And that is true, but it took many years to get to that point where I'm just completely like, "Okay, let's go. This is how it's going to be, and this is the way that I look, and that's not going to change." Because I
Hmm.
did, I had a lot of insecurity about how I looked, and, even in my first business, I thought, I wouldn't be able to make it as a woman in, business and creativity, and, being a good enough company. So
Hmm.
there were so many, doubts. Just self-doubt, and it took a long time. I mean, I probably took many more years than the average person to really get comfortable in my own skin and then put myself out there. And it's hard. It's always a whole battle in your own mind,
Yes.
right?
I completely testify to this because this podcast for me, it took me 2 years to get to it. And being an introvert, I can completely align to what you're rightly saying about the inertia of coming out and speaking. While I know that even before 2018, you were on social media, you were doing some amazing work, but you really didn't showcase yourself. You had your work being showcased. And I have read about you, heard your past interviews that prior to that you were, but something changed in 2018 and you did come out and said, okay, this is who I am, mother of social dragons.
Absolutely,
And
because yeah, before that I was hiding. I never fully accepted myself and that, wow, my last name is Long for dragon in Mandarin. And I am, I have become, I grew into um,
Hmm.
who I was supposed to be, right? Before I was, it took time. I was just so insecure and actually launching my personal brand in 2018, it I tell you, it took 10 years at least to come out with that website, to, you know, have my story that I'm comfortable sharing with the world. And yeah, it just took a while, but hey, now I'm living and breathing it. So
Yes. Uh, there is a big influence of Game of Thrones on you, and that how this piece came about, the mother of social dragons. And somewhere Khaleesi also at one point, she's a person who's shy, introvert, and she realized she's the mother of dragons, and she changes. So there is a big influence on you. I could see that, and I have read it, but may not be talking about that. But how did you really think about the dragon method? Because that's such profound,
hmm.
and it was timely as well because of Game of Thrones. So, share that story on the dragon method.
Well, to be completely honest, I never even watched Game of Thrones until I was going through this personal branding process.
Hmm.
I never been like a huge, you know, Netflix or TV or series or drama, telenovela or Korean drama
Yeah,
person. Mainly because I was a social media addict. So I didn't have time for long form media because I'm
yeah,
like, I have
short form.
ADD. Exactly. And so my ex partner at the time, he's also very creative. And he was like, hey, since you're doing this whole personal branding thing and you need to come up with a name, because I'm like, I need to think of a name for myself. Like, because I don't want to be just another social media guru or social media ninja. Like, what am I?
Hmm.
Like, what am I gonna, who am I? And just searching through my identity, I'm like, well, my name is Dot, is short for Dorothy. Dorothy means gift of God in the
Yeah,
Bible, and Long dragon is my last name. So what can I do with my name? It has to be a dragon of something, social
yeah.
media dragon, or what is it? But who am I? He's like, and so he was actually the one that said, "Well, haven't you ever watched Game of Thrones? Like you don't know about this? You're the mother of dragons. Like you are her." I was like,
Yeah,
"What? Who is this?" I was like, "What is the mother of dragons? Are you kidding me? This is a person? This is a real thing?"
yeah.
Like, I need to watch this. So I literally binged the entire 8 seasons of Game of Thrones for
Wow.
work, research during Christmas holiday. It was like during, the Christmas of, 2017, and I remember I missed Christmas dinner because I was, like, at the red wedding, and I just
Okay.
couldn't stop, watching this amazing, incredible story.
Yeah.
And immediately, obviously, when they introduced the character, Daenerys Targaryen, obviously she's just the magnetic
Amazing
and
character.
full blown heroic character.
Yes.
And I just identified with her, as any woman, any young woman can really see herself in this character.
Hmm.
And I just knew, like, this is the mother of dragons. She has such an incredible story. I relate to so much of her story. And and yeah, I'm just building my empire,
Nicely.
one dragon at a time. So
Yeah. So the Dragon method actually has it's an acronym for an entire process, and it means something also.
right.
It's not
Right.
just your
So
last name.
yeah, so to answer your question, so I came up with this, whole personal branding thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, like, be this dragon lady, the dragon lady I am. and then and then, what the method was something that came after because I was like doing the website. I'm like, okay, wow, working with my designer on how it's going to look and feel. But at the same time, I was getting, um, you know, all the universities were asking me to start teaching courses and doing guest lectures, and I was just getting invited to speak all over the world about how I was, using social media for brands and businesses.
Yep.
So I needed a way to teach people what the heck I was doing and in a easily memorable way. And I think I forget if I was reading something, but learning how to teach. So I was like trying to learn how to actually teach. And
Wow.
I just remember, well, in grade school, there's you have all these acronyms. And what's my acronym gonna be? And what am I even doing here? So
Mm.
I had to like go through this process of what have I been doing in my work for the last 8 years? What are like the main key principles that I live by? And what are they? And how is it a dragon? Like how can I fit it each letter of the word dragon into what I was doing? And I
Yep.
literally I don't know how it worked out so magically, but it's literally a magic formula because
Nice.
everything about the first 6 elements of the dragon, the D is all about dialogue, and this is why social media was invented in the first place, because the reason why we have social media is so we can create human to human conversations and have a human
Hmm.
to human dialogue, and that's why Twitter started, that's why Facebook exists.
Yep.
And the R in dragon is all about relatability. How can we relate to each other on a human level? The more you can actually relate and be personable,
Hmm.
the more engaging your content is, the more people want to get to know you, the more relevant your content will be in the newsfeed. And the A in dragon is all about authenticity. Authenticity is staying true to who you are because
Mm.
there's no one more unique than your brand, and that's you. And if you fake it till you make it on social media, it's never going to last, right? The only way you can play
Definitely.
the long game is staying true to yourself and being authentic. And the G in the dragon, this is the backbone of why this formula works, is all about giving. It's
Yep.
about giving as much value as you possibly can. And Gary Vaynerchuk has his strategy called jab, 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 right hook. That's give, 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 and then ask. Well, in the Dragons formula, it's just give, 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 and give some more because we are, the way that the world works is the more that you can give and the more that
Mm.
we can share, the more you'll actually be receiving. And so you'll know that in social media, the more you give, the more engagement you're going to get, the more conversations, the more reach, the more visibility. And I truly believe in this. The O in the dragon is all about sharing your opinion. This
Hmm.
is knowing exactly what your values and your beliefs are and sharing those values over and over and sharing your opinion because your opinion is what's going to get the right people around you and the right community that you're trying to develop. And then lastly, the N in the dragon is all about knowing your niche. And that's really just solving a specific problem for a specific person. And that's the dragon's formula. If you know how to leverage these elements, you will automatically generate the S in the dragon, which is what everyone's all psyched up about. And that's scaling your sales because all
Wow.
dragons have scales. And
Yeah.
we're in business. We're creating our businesses with social media so we can scale and make
Mm.
sales. And that is what the dragon is about. And that was developed over my 8 years of working in the business. And it just came together one day in the car as I forgot, I was in Tel Aviv. And I'm like, honey, I need to come up with, some acronym to talk about. I remember it very clearly. I was coming up with a keynote speech. So the first time I ever talked about the Dragons formula was at this keynote that I created for Digital Design Days. And this must have
Okay.
been in 2018, the same year I was launching my personal brand. And then I also was going to be, giving a talk at DDD in Milan, and
Mm.
I needed to teach what I was doing, and that was the first time I gave a entire presentation about it, and then it turned this presentation turned into my course, and my
Wow.
course is the one that maybe you know me from. It's a
Yep.
Domestika course. It has over 80,000 students worldwide learning
Wow.
the Dragon's Formula. So I like to say that Khaleesi only had 3 baby dragons. I happen to acquire 80,000. I'm growing and teaching and learning with them every day, that new dragons are joining our community, and it's just incredible. It's been an incredible journey.
You kind of spoke about in an amazing way on how the Dragon framework which you have, it's not just about you, but you're able to impart that knowledge. And you know, it talks about the authenticity of the individual because today most of the social media has a back intention of why people engage. For you, that's the last part, which is S, right? You have to go through that the entire dragon to see if S comes in. It's not dragons, it's dragon, right? That's the difference. The S will come in if you are able to scale it up and grow the dragon. You can kill the dragon pretty quickly if you don't do it right. I don't know if you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You couldn't have said it better. That's the whole point. You actually literally start with the D. Like, you
Yeah.
have to start knowing how to have a dialogue, meaningful conversation, and learn the art of dialogue and conversation, because dialogue is what builds trust. It's how you can, ho- how they, resolve a war is through dialogue.
Yes.
Like, there's no end to warfare without dialogue, and dialogue is the beginning of everything.
Yep.
So it works. It literally, you can apply this formula for any business, any personal brand, and it works like a charm.
Uh, Talking about social media, Dot, today it's humanly impossible to keep up.
Mm.
Not just because of the conversations, but even the advent of new platforms like the Clubhouse app, which is fairly new, but it has scaled up magnificently. I'm on it, and I can tell you it's difficult to keep up the entire day with it. It's if Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, all other platforms were still growing. Here comes the new app, uh, and it just taken the world by storm, and everybody is on it. Everybody's raving about it. Good and bad conversations also. I will testify to that. But how do you believe that people can keep up with this ever growing ecosystem of conversations and dialogues?
I truly believe that there is going to come to a point where you cannot keep up with all of it. As a matter of fact, today, this morning, I literally made a post that was like, "Oh, I'm hopeful that TikTok and Clubhouse just die out, because, you know, who can keep up with all of these?
Yeah.
It's not possible." I mean, unless you're a full-time social media, manager or influencer, or this is your business, like, you have to have a life, right? Like,
Yes.
um, so truly, truly, it's about choosing the platform that works best for you. So if you love TikTok, be a TikToker. If you love audio and audio communication, do Clubhouse. There's
Yep.
something for everyone, and that's what's so awesome about all of these social networks and technology, is because you can choose the one that is best for you. And as a matter of fact, you should choose the one that you feel most comfortable in, because that's your native, first native language. Like, not, how they say, like, oh, your mother tongue, and then you can have second languages, but your first native content creation language is going to
Mm.
be either audio, maybe it's photo, maybe it's video, maybe it's writing. Blogging is still in. I don't know if you
Yep.
know,
Yes,
but
it is.
writing's never going to go out of style. So I think you choose the one that's best for you. The reason why I choose Instagram is because I'm an extremely visual person, and I just gravitated to the Instagram platform. Uh, it just that's where I like to be. That's where my people are. But maybe your people are on Clubhouse, which I do have people on Clubhouse too, but I spend much more time on Instagram. So there's something for everyone, truly. And I don't
Hmm.
and it is overwhelming. It is so overwhelming. And so I made that post this morning. It's like I'm a professional at this and I can't even keep up anymore. I've been
Yeah.
keeping up for 15 years and now this is it. Like I can't, this is, I just, and then that's not for me. I work in, mostly my clients are in like Middle East, in North America, South America, in Europe. But I haven't, and I've worked in Asia before, but I haven't, I've only worked in Hong Kong, not, China, because
Yeah.
China is like a whole nother ball game of social media apps and God knows what, right? And I just
Yeah.
am like, holy cow, like that's a whole nother frontier for me to break into. I'm excited about it, but also I have so much to just even learn on our own platforms in the Western world that for me to start learning about what's happening, on WeChat and SignaNet and I don't even know what's out there right now, right?
Yep.
There's so many that it's a learning curve and you don't have to be on all of them. You be on it where your network is, where your people are, and where what makes you the happiest. So don't
Okay.
be on Instagram if it's like frustrating and it's not easy for you. You can hire a professional to do it.
Hmm. That's
You do
interesting.
you.
Yeah. And I also agree. It's like difficult. I'm not on TikTok. I have not even installed it. I installed it for a few days just to check it out, but I'm out of it. It's too overwhelming to just keep up with it. Yes, there are people who can, and hearing from you, who's living and breathing social media every day, saying that it's difficult to keep up is a great thing, or at least, and it's a good sense of calming effect that you just be on platforms which are good for you. Switching gears, and you spoke about mother tongue. So you're not originally from Tel Aviv. You just landed there and made it your home. You call Barcelona home, but Barcelona is also not your home. You grew up in LA, and how is this entire journey of your worldly travels got you to Tel Aviv? But more importantly, why leave US to come to Spain and then go to Tel Aviv? You know,
Well, that is an excellent question because my family worked very, very hard to leave their home country and immigrate to the US and build a better life and give us opportunities that they never had. So they absolutely succeeded at that. I had an amazing upbringing. We lived, in Southern California. Lived in LA in Southern California for 25 years and went to college down at UC Irvine. I just realized for me personally, I could never live another day in that beige town and live in this beige city where everything is freaking perfect and Pleasantville. And I
yep,
had to spend 2 hours, 3 hours driving back and forth in traffic on the
traffic.
405 every day. I
Yeah,
was like, this is not for me, guys. I am, I had 25 years of this. I am out.
yeah,
It was just, I remember the day I was like so depressed. I was like crying in my car, sitting in 405 freeway. I'm like, I am too young for this shit. Like, I want to travel the world. I want to like meet people and live my life and be on the beach in Barcelona. Like, what am I
nice.
doing?
Okay.
And yeah, and I still love LA. That's where I'm from, and I love the beaches in California too. But I just was tired of, living in this social construct that I was brought up in, right? Like, oh, you have to do the 9 to 5 thing,
Hmm.
have a great corporate job, which, I did all the things. I went to the university, I got the job, and I had the 401k and I bored the shit out of myself. I was like, "What the heck? This is like why our parents came to America to give us the golden dream and the
Yep.
land of opportunity." And I'm like, "This is it, guys. I
Yep.
got it." Like, and I just was depressed. I went really, I mean, actually, I had to hit my rock bottom, okay, before I
Wow.
yeah, I had to hit, like, mentally and physically. I just, you know, went went very, very deep down, and I had to come to terms of what I really wanted for myself and what I really wanted for my life. And that was to live on my own terms and define what success was for me, because success for me was not freaking working at, an amazing medical tech company, making shit tons of money and driving a nice car and having like
Yep.
the new iPhone.
Hmm.
Like, that's
Yep.
awesome. Like, if that is, that's your idea, go ahead. Like, go for it. It's awesome. But for me, I had my own ideas. And so I guess after, you're Asian, so you understand the
Yep.
whole Asian
Breaking.
parenting methodology, and how you have to, you know, be respectful to your elders and make, achieve their wishes. And so I felt like at that time in life, I did the things, and now it was my turn. Like, I
Yep.
want to, um it's my happy time now, right? Like,
Yes.
I want to see if I can make it in
Yep.
Spain,
Awesome.
because that was my dream. My Ever since I was a little girl, I knew that I was going to move to Spain, because
Wow.
I think it has to do with how, I went to elementary school in Palos Verdes. It was like, really, we had like a lot of Spanish influence. It's very Mediterranean there by the beach. It's like basically a version of Spain and Portugal. And our our teachers would always be like, "Oh, we're gonna retire in Spain," and so many people in
Wow.
California say, "Oh, we're gonna retire in Spain." And so I think I that influenced me, like, at a young age, like, okay, where is Spain and how do I get there? Because everybody wants to retire there.
Hmm.
And so I just, like,
Interesting.
had, like, it in the back of my mind. Plus, you grow up in California, everyone speaks Spanish, and it's really
Yep.
influenced by Hispanic culture. And so I learned Spanish, since junior high school. And I'm like, okay, what am I gonna like? I, I love this language, and we're learning so much about Spanish culture in my Spanish class, that I wanted to go to Spain. Like, I don't know what it was, but I'm like, I need to go to Spain. So I went there my first time when I was 18 or 19, like my um, first or second year of university, and that was it for me. So
Wow.
I was like, this is where I'm going to live, because it is absolutely beautiful, and people here and the culture here is awesome. And I just fell in love with architecture, because
Yes,
when you
it
live
is.
in Barcelona, you're just living in a piece of art. And
Yes,
you
it is.
wake up and you walk into the city, and you are in a museum. And
Yep.
it's another feeling living abroad, and it's another feeling living in such a beautiful city. So I felt that when I was 18, but I had to finish college, and I had to do all the things. And so I wish, like, if there was like one regret that I had in my whole life, it's not all the, ex-boyfriends I had, or like whatever the shit I got
Sure.
into. It's literally that I didn't move earlier, that I didn't move to Spain earlier, that I didn't like get outside of the country and just try it out, because it I, it was what I wanted, right? And
Wow.
why didn't I just do it earlier? Because if I did it earlier, I could have gotten started earlier and like learned all the things that I needed to earlier, and just be happy earlier. Be so excited that I'm living my dream.
Yep.
And so when I was 18, I was like, this is where I want to be. I want to live in Barcelona. My dream is to, like, get a job here. I don't know how I'm going to do that. So I figured it out, right? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, later, moved there when I was 25, did a master's program in digital media art production, got myself an internship, did it all over again when I was
Wow.
25, and somehow discovered that I could get paid doing Instagram. And
Wow.
that's where it all started. So, yeah, Barcelona has is a magical city for me. I learned so much. I met the most amazing artists and creatives, the people that have supported me the most in the world. Were just friends and family that I created for myself, being alone in a foreign country and building, a community around myself. That's something one of the most greatest achievements I think I did. It's not, about business, but literally just about the community and the people around me. They're so amazing, and that's something I'm so grateful for every day. And I'm so grateful I can call Barcelona my home and go back and see my friends and family there. And they've been supporting me since since I landed there.
Wow.
They're just the best people. And so yeah, I mean, but life happens. Life happens, and after 8 years in Barcelona, I, you know, met the love of my life in
That's
Portugal at this design maker conference in Portugal called Kinternet, and the guy, the guy, he, I hate to say it because it's so trite, but we just knew, like we saw each other at this event, and it was just like an instant thing that we knew we had to get to know each other. And before you know it, 6 months later, I moved to
wow.
Tel Aviv. Yeah, so I now it's March 2021, but I moved to Tel Aviv at the beginning of 2020, at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, to just start all over again and
Wow.
rebuild my community in another foreign country, that in Israel. I've never been here. I just said I was going to move, and I've never even traveled to Israel or anywhere in the Middle East
Wow.
at this point in my life. But I'm so committed to love. I'm so dedicated to making my dreams come true that nothing was going to stop me. I mean, I just knew that I had to give it a shot. So, and I think a
Okay.
lot of people, they're afraid to give themselves a chance. They're afraid to take that risk, even even a small risk. This was a huge risk, but I
Yep.
was willing to risk everything. I'm willing to move for love, and I'm willing to move to make myself happy and make my dreams come true, and lose everything in pursuit of that. And that's a risk that I was willing to take. So if you don't risk it, you'll never know.
You'll never know. And you just said something that you've not been afraid to build that community again, because there are a lot of Instagrammers, a lot of people, like it happened in India when TikTok uh, was banned. A lot of artists, the social media influencers, they said that the world has ended because TikTok has done, right? But somewhere social media has also created this world of community which is artificial. Like what you are talking about, you've created a real world of community, not an artificial digital community which is momentarily, right? It's not aligned to a platform, it's aligned to who you are as an individual, not to that platform. So I think that's beautiful. Like if I have to take something out of it, what you just said, that's critical thing. And talking about life, I'm sure you must have had amazing moments uh, professionally. Have there been any specific thing, whether in teaching or presentation, that when you look back or when you think about it, this is motivates you and says, "This is why I need to do more of this."
Absolutely. Um, Definitely one of the most significant, um, you know, feedbacks that I received in after launching my first course. Now, I teach a course on Instagram strategy for business growth, and I want to empower creatives and artists and entrepreneurs to be able to create their own business and create a living for themselves, doing what they love. I think that's one of the most important goals that I was able to achieve and that I want to share with others how I did it, and I did it through social media. And so this is something I teach through the Dragons formula, and so I have the course, and the course is right now it's on sale for $10, right?
Wow.
It's yeah, it's
Okay.
something that, you know, I think everybody is able to afford that.
Yes.
'Cause I wanted to make it accessible. This is not like I teach at universities, but I am not charging, the thousands of dollars for, a university course for this because I think I do truly believe like education should be free and everyone should have
Yep.
access to it. So it's a $10 course. I received amazing feedbacks. We have like over 3,000, amazing positive feedbacks on the course. But one of them stuck out to me, in particular, was a young boy from Jakarta in Indonesia. And he had written to me that, before he took my course, he was really um, having to choose between eating lunch and not having food for lunch or buying my course because,
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's
Yep.
that's what he was able to afford. So, between choosing my course and having food to eat, he chose to take my course. And it just touched me so much because he was writing to me, obviously, to say that he is so thankful that he chose to learn the Dragon's formula because now, using the formula, he was able to land his first job doing social media at an agency. And now he's even leading his own social media campaigns and strategies for his own clients. So it was just so touching because me coming from the US and living this privileged life,
Yep.
um it made me think twice about like how many people are out there that you know don't have the technology and don't have access to the education and the skills needed just because of where they live. And it really made an impact on me and how I want to teach more. I mean, I always love teaching. It gives me so much energy. It's one of my most favorite things that, I do it for free anyways, right? And I do. I try and do as much as possible and teach
Wow.
as much as I can um for free. But, you know, having to make this into a business, let's say I'm even to charge $10, like that gives that information access to more people. And if I can make that free one day, like I would love to. And that's
Mm.
um, something that I plan on doing um, as my business grows, to give back to the community and help others come up with you. And I think that's what I'm about. I just want everyone to be happy, right?
Yeah.
So the more people that I can help get there, with my superpower of social media. So I
Perfect.
want to help.
And where do people sign up if they have to sign up? If my listeners are listening and they want to sign up for this course, where do they go?
Yeah, so you can actually just get all the information from my website at .lung.com.
Hmm.
So you go there, you can learn a little bit about me, see my work, and there'll be a link right at the top for you to get my. I also have a free ebook um, that's coming out, and you can also get access to the course that way.
Nice. Great. You like a lot of people look up to you today on how they should build their social media or their Instagram profiles or strategies. Do you look up to someone as a mentor or a coach?
You know what's funny is that I had many what I would call my internet daddies.
Okay, interesting term.
Yeah, like, I mean, because I grew up with a single mother and I didn't have, a dad growing up, so I always felt like, "Oh, I need, to have some father figures
Yep.
and yeah, so I always in terms of social media, in the very beginning of my career, I was listening to too much, Gary Vaynerchuk, and
Okay.
that was kind of, because he was leading our industry, and so I think I grew out of that, and then I got more into, the what I really love, which is design and branding.
Hmm.
So I listen to a lot of Chris Do. Um, you know, we help support each other in many ways, and he is the one guy that I would trust for any information on how to run a creative business. I learned so much from his YouTube channel. I wish that channel came out 5 years earlier because I would be so much, more ahead. I had to learn all these things, while I was in Barcelona, while I didn't know what the heck, how to make an invoice, for example, like just basic
Wow.
things. Um, I mean, it was just now you have access to so much information that you have no excuses. Back then, there was no course on how to do social media. I was just learning how to do it on my own. So, but I think if there's someone else, I would say Michael Janda. He
Hmm.
knows a thing or two about building, branding and design agency as well. Mainly, I love design, so I love branding. Marty Newmeyer, he's the legend, the resource for anything about brand building.
Hmm.
So yeah, I see that I have like a lot of, male figures that I look up to, but I also am inspired by all the women in our industry that are really the true leaders in building social media content and platforms, believe it or not. It's mostly women that are teaching and sharing
I
and
agree.
building on Instagram, on Pinterest, and on Facebook. And so I see you and I'm supporting you and I'm rooting all of us on because we all know women are about to take over. So,
Yes, I completely agree to that.
yeah, we're very excited. So I'm thrilled to be part of this generation that we can see all of the phoenixes rise to their their heights. Yeah.
Full potential. Yes. No, this has been an amazing conversation, Dot. Thank you for taking precious time out. You are super busy, I know. And it's been an amazing conversation. I've got to learn a lot today. I take a lot of learning from your career as an individual, so I'm sure my listeners would. Thank you for taking your time and spending some time with us. And I'm sure my listeners would be happy to listen to your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you ever need anything, if I can support you in any way, please do connect and let me know. So thank you for doing this and sharing it.
Thank you for listening in. And we close yet another episode of Masters Decoded. If you've enjoyed the episode, please you can help us out by sharing it on social media. I would personally appreciate that. It's how we can reach more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the more awesome guests I can get in touch and convince to participate in these conversations that are a joy to have for me, and I hope they are a joy for you to listen as well. You